Well, welcome back. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, we're going to have Dr. Ted Broer with us. He's one of the America's leading nutritionists, and he's a biochemist, and he's authored many books. It's been a while since we've had him on, but he talks about all kinds of nutritional things. Lately, he wrote an article called Toxic Foods We Eat That Eventually Eat Us, and in that is some of the top 10 lists of things that certainly he feels contributes to cancer. So we're making that connection now. Perhaps you've read some of his articles, Breakthrough Health, which is one of the books that he's wrote that's been very, very popular out there, and hundreds of articles sounding alarm about toxic foods that we eat over time. And in particular, sugar is an addiction as bad as cocaine. Well, I think we probably all agree with that, especially those of us, myself included, that like things on the sweet side. So we'll get him connected here coming up. One thing we're going to be talking about is how dangerous is aluminum and fluoride. That's been quite a controversy for quite some time, and how the maybe even the dental community is responding to that. Let's see, what are good cholesterol numbers? Sometimes we've even had Dr. Klein on that talks about that. And here's one that I think is really becoming quite the issue, especially throughout Southern Oregon, and if not throughout the whole state. And that is the whole subject of GMOs and GMO farming and agriculture, and how it's affecting the food supply, and what can be done about it. Some people, in fact, some foreign countries will not even accept our export food now because they come from GMO farms. And so I'm going to ask him to kind of comment on that. Are statin drugs safe? Do you take one? Statin drugs are the things that help fight cholesterol and some of these high cholesterol levels. And in fact, I think the last time I had him on, we talked about the statin drugs and how dangerous they are. And yet millions of Americans are on statin drugs. We'll talk to him about that as well. So anyway, like I said, it's been a while since we've had Dr. Ted on. Well, there he is. Hey, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Perry.
Hey, it's been a while. Nice to see you, friend.
Good to see you and you too, buddy.
Yeah, listen, thanks for what you do. Let's get into it. How toxic is the food supply?
Well, Perry, I've got a list of the top 10 foods never to eat. If you'd like, I can go over those, and I can tell you why each of them are toxic, and why we're leading the world when it comes to heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, and why the leading cause of death in our kids, other than accidents, is cancer. So we can cover all that today.
All right, go for it. What are the top 10?
Well, number one, we tell folks never to eat, Perry, are the high-fat luncheon meats. I include in that category bacon, sausage, ham, pepperoni, and hot dogs. Interesting study a few years ago was done by the University of Southern California, and they found if a child ate just 3 hot dogs a week, they had 9 times the risk of leukemia versus children who do not.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What else?
So that's pretty bad. Well, number 2 on the list is NutraSweet, aspartame, or equal diet sodas. They've been linked to brain tumors, brain cancer, seizures, headaches, optic nerve degradation. The list goes on and on and on. In aspartame, they actually take 3 compounds and they mix them together. They use methyl alcohol, which is a neurological poison, which cannot be made non-poisonous. They combine that with aspartic acid, which is also poisonous in high concentrations, as a free amino acid, and they dump in a bunch of phenylalanine, which basically is poisonous in high concentrations. And what ends up happening, you have a toxic witch's brew, so to speak, that causes brain tumors, brain cancer, seizures, headaches, optic nerve degradation. That product should never have been approved by the Food and Drug Administration, and was turned down for over 10 years until they did some hanky-panky and got it approved about 30 years ago. And it's one of the worst products we've ever put into the market. So never use that. And also don't use the sucralose either, because that causes kidney calcification. A good alternative is stevia. That's the best way to do it.
All right, good news. All right, number 3.
Number 3 are margarine products. If you're going to do margarine, don't use real butter. Use organic butter. It's a good, you can use coconut oil. You can use olive oil. But real butter is good, especially if you mix it 50-50 with cold-pressed virgin olive oil and put a little bit of garlic in it. Delicious. And it's a lot healthier for you than the margarine. The margarine has been linked to brain tumors also, to breast cancer. The list goes on and on and on with margarine. Plus, it really increases the risks of infertility and also heart disease. So you got to stay away from the margarines and the trans fats. Number 4 is the shellfish, Perry. That includes the lobster, shrimp, oyster, prawns, scallops, crabs, and clams. You've got to stay away from the shellfish. They're one of the worst things you can put in your body, especially after they dumped all that core exit into the Gulf of Mexico a few years ago, trying to stop that spill and trying to get that oil to settle. those shellfish are bottom feeders. They're living on the bottom with all that oil and some pretty toxic stuff out there right now. And I'd really stay away from the shellfish.
All right. Back to the margin thing real quick, Ted. I think that message is getting out. I'm hearing that more and more people going away from margin, just going back to butter.
You know what's so funny, Perry, is that, we've been doing this for 35 years now. And I remember 35 years ago when I started talking to people about hydrogenated oils and trans fats, I was boo-hooed about everything. Said, no, that's not true. That's not true. And every single thing that I've told people for the last 35 years,
Sorry about that. Some of the problems we have with Skype. Let's see if we can get him unfrozen. And we're talking to Dr. Ted Broer. By the way, you may want to Google his book, Breakthrough Health, which he goes through this. And you can Google an article that he has now put out by, is this WorldNet Data? I think it is. No, I'm sorry. Anyway, you may just want to Google him, B-R-O-E-R, Dr. Ted Broer. Anyway, he has got an article out, Toxic Foods We Eat That Eventually Eat Us. And and not only do the toxic foods eat us, so does modern technology. It just eats us up and spit us out. Hi, Ted. Nice to have you back. All right, number 5.
Well, at least when you went off, my screen went blank, and I knew I wasn't talking as I was just talking enough, so I was good.
I was throwing out the sugar. Go ahead. What's number 5?
Well, sugar is another whole thing. That's number 5 on the list, and that was a little cliff note for you. But the sugar and the junk food, sugar causes a massive problem with parasitic infestation through candida in the body. 250 million people in America right now are infected with candida or yeast infections, and it gets worse and worse and worse because the yeast causes all types of things, like they become sluggish, they become depressed. It's very, very unhealthy to have all that yeast in your body. And plus, remember, years ago I wrote a book. It was called Maximum Solutions on ADD, Autism, and Learning Disability in Children. And we talked about the link between thimerosal, the vaccines, all of these different types of compounds that children are being injected with, and how it's been linked back to autism. And when I wrote that book, it was about 1 in every 300 children were being diagnosed with ADD or with autism, actually with autism. Now it's down to about 1 in 50, Perry.
Whoa.
And so apparently we're not learning. I mean, it used to be 1 in 100,000 kids had autism. Now it's like 1 in 50. And some classrooms there are more children taking medicine than there are children not taking medicine in the school systems. And the craziest thing about all of this is Ritalin that's being used on a lot of these kids, that's a Schedule II drug in the same category with morphine, opium, Percodan, and Demerol. And the nuttiest thing about that is you would never take your child to the doctor if he had a cut or he wasn't feeling good and put him on morphine, which is Schedule II drug. You'd say, forget it, we're not going to do that. Ritalin and Adderall are both Schedule II drugs. They're in the same category with morphine. If you give a child Ritalin and Adderall on an ongoing basis, they're not even allowed to serve in the armed forces of the United States of America. It's that bad. The military knows that. These are addictive amphetamine salts, and I personally believe that's one of the reasons we've had such a huge problem with methamphetamine addictions after kids get off the Ritalin, because they're looking for another source, because they're so addicted to the product. And this drug, I mean, I'm not saying you should never use it, but what I'm saying, it should be your last treatment option after you try everything first, Barry.
All right. Hey, listen, in case we lose you again, how can people connect with you? Do you have a website? Where do they get more information on what you do?
We do. I've got a brand new book out. It's called, I mean, you see it. It's called Breakthrough Health.
Yep. And
basically, it goes over the top 10 foods, and plus there's 45 chapters. And then we talk about the GMO foods. We go into detail about the medical system in the United States. We talk about how to lower blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood sugar levels. And you can go to healthmasters.com. That's HEALTH. MASTERS. It's got an S on it, healthmasters.com, to order a copy of that book. We have them in inventory. We'll send them out to your priority mail. You'll have them in a couple of days. And what it does, it teaches you how to feel good and look good. Because, here's what I've learned a long time ago, Perry. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight and you feel absolutely awful, if you keep doing what you've done to get to where you are, it's just going to get worse. I mean, if you're going east on the interstate, but you want to go west, you've got to turn around at the next exit ramp and go the other direction. I mean, you've got to make a decision on your health and on your children's health. We've got 4 kids. We homeschool them. The kids are incredibly healthy. They're gifted. One of them's a pianist. He plays like Mozart. The other one sings like Barbara Streisand. I mean, it's incredible. No, I'm not joking. You go on YouTube and look at the videos.
Good.
And what's funny is, people don't realize you've got to feed your kids the right nutrients. I know people have horses who give their horses vitamins, who bathe their horses on a weekly basis, who brush their horses every single day. But when it comes to giving their kids the right food, they give them all GMO and all junk food. I mean, if you had a prize racehorse, you wouldn't take it out and get it drunk the night before it had to run. You wouldn't do that. You say, I'm not going to treat my horse like that. And so many people treat their animals better than they do their own children. And it's sad. And that's why 1 out of 50 kids now have autism. And it's awful. And I've seen it over and over and over again.
Let me jump in the GMOs, only because it's a hot topic here in Southern Oregon, and I know that now countries won't even take our food because it comes from GMOs. Tell us in a nutshell your thoughts about this problem.
Well, the Bible tells you specifically that you're not supposed to mingle the seed. I mean, this is a big problem they had in the Old Testament. If you read through the book of Enoch, which it's not part of the Bible, but it's like a historical text of what happened in Genesis chapter 6 and with the fallen angels, it goes into detail about how they came in and they started changing things and changing the seeds, changing the genetics. And when you talk about all of that stuff to people and you try to relate it back to what the Bible says and what the book of Enoch says, they kind of look at you kind of funny. But the reality is God told us not to do it. See, we have a very specific frequency that our body operates on. When we start putting foods into our body which have the wrong frequencies and the wrong chemicals and the wrong combinations of different types of amino acids, it goes wrong with our body. That's why I said within the 4th generation of testing on laboratory animals, they're completely sterile. And then let's look at number 6. You got me all excited talking about GMOs. Sorry, Barry. Let's talk about number 6 on the list. So that's chlorine and fluoride. You know, I've been telling people for years and years and years not to drink chlorine and not to put fluoride in their body. Fluoride is a neurological toxin that cannot be made non-poisonous. It's a byproduct of phosphate production, hydrofluorosilicic acid. It's one of the most poisonous substances on the planet. It causes almost an immediate damage of IQ when you start drinking fluoride on a regular basis. Children, if you start giving them fluoride at a very young age, have a 20-point drop in their IQ scores, and that's according to Harvard University. And 20 points on an IQ score is a lot.
Wow.
And see, but yet, you know, and Perry, I've been doing shows with you guys for years. I've been doing this since the 80s, and I've warned people since then. Fluoride is a neurological toxin. It cannot be made non-poisonous. Don't use fluoride toothpaste. Don't do any of that. In fact, if you go to the healthmasters.com website, I wrote a whole article you can get for free on fluoride, and it tells you exactly what to do. And I've got the latest articles on fluoride in my Breakthrough Health book. Now, also, we got to talk about number 7 on the list, and that's soy products. And I mean, I don't know how to tell you how bad soy is. Soy is a female estrogen compound. It is an estrogen mimicker. And what ends up happening is when you put it into the body, it feminizes young boys. If a woman gets enough soy or enough female estrogen products through pesticides or soaps or through plastics while she's pregnant, the child will have. Let me explain something to you. Every single mammal, when the baby is in utero, when the baby's in the womb, every single mammal starts off as a woman. About halfway through the cycle, the woman starts secreting testosterone, and that little baby boy turns into a little baby boy. If you don't give a sufficient quantity of testosterone during the uteral cycle, that little baby boy will never turn into a little baby boy, and he will be born with the brain of a little baby girl. And this is what's happening over and over and over. We're seeing all these problems with these kids. Some of them are born with different, with same to both sex organs because they don't get the proper amount of testosterone because they're being exposed to bisphenol A and a bunch of other things in high concentrations in the food supply, and it's feminizing the population. It's unbelievably awful what they're doing, and they knew it would do this when they started it. You can't give pregnant women bisphenol A. It doesn't work. It gives way too much estrogen.
Only about 2 minutes. I only got about 2 minutes left. Quickly, go ahead with the other ones here.
Now, number 8 are the high-fat dairy products, I'm a pretty good proponent about drinking raw milk if you can buy it in your state and it's licensed and it's certified. I'm okay with that, but make sure the cows aren't being fed GMO corn and make sure that the cows are healthy and not being given antibiotics and no bovine growth hormone. Then I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But the dairy products are all right, but I prefer goat's milk for young children. It makes a really good formula. Number 9 are caffeine products, primarily coffee products. Green tea is okay. I haven't had any coffee today. I feel pretty good because I took 2 purple sticks. We have a product on our website. It's called the Purple Stick, and it's a caffeine green tea extract with vitamins in it. It gives you a lot of energy. I always take them before I work out. And it's a phenomenal product, and it doesn't give you the headaches and the ups and the downs and the lows like coffee does. Coffee actually will increase the risks of heart disease, according to the British Medical Journal Lancet, and elevate blood pressure in a lot of men. So if you're going to drink coffee, do it moderately. Don't do it every single day, and don't get addicted to it. In fact, according to the government's new guidelines on the psychological assessments, if you stop drinking coffee and you get a headache, you're going to have a hard time believing this. If you get a headache when you stop drinking coffee, they now say you have a mental illness.
Okay. Half my staff just got up and walked out, but go ahead. What's 9 and 10?
Now, you notice I'm wearing a Florida State shirt this morning. I graduated from Florida State 3 times. I got 3 diplomas hanging on the wall right here. And what's interesting is I used to drink 18 cups of coffee a day when I was in graduate school at Florida State University. And I tell you what, dude, I got heart disease when I was 27 years old and almost died from it. It completely changed my life. And I realized I'll still drink coffee every once in a while, but I don't make it a daily habit. I do the green tea instead. Right. And number 10 are alcohol products. And always remember, I've never heard anybody say, my life was a wreck and then I started drinking, and everything got better. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, alcohol has caused. You know, it's so funny. We're having this big thing now in the United States about marijuana, right?
All right.
And how many people, and states are voting to legalize marijuana or whatever. And, you know, there was this big to-do about all that. But here's the thing. Prescription drugs and over-the-counter drugs kill more people than these illegal drugs ever do. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Tylenol is the primary cause of liver failure in the United States. When you start using the ibuprofen, those types of drugs, they cause kidney calcification and kidney failure in high quantities and high concentrations. So we always tell folks, hey, look, stay away from all of this stuff and just use natural protocol to feel good and to look good. Can I give out a phone number for the folks who don't have internet?
Yeah, what is it?
Access?
Real quick, I'm done here.
Okay, well, it's 1-800-592-HEAL, HEAL, to get a copy of the book. That's 1-800-592-HEAL, HEAL, or 4325, and healthmasters.com, Perry.
Healthmasters.com. Ted, you're a delight. Thank you, buddy. God bless you, and we'll have you back when we can have you on longer, okay?
Thank you, sir.
God bless. All right, we'll be right back.